The gym lights flickered once, just enough to make every shadow jump, and in that split-second stutter of fluorescence, the impossible happened. A 6'4", 230-pound man, veins popping, eyes wild with hate, flew backward through the air like someone had yanked an invisible chain around his neck. His feet left the mat completely. The crash when he landed was so loud that the heavy bags swayed on their chains. Then silence, absolute, stunned silence. The only sound was the soft drip of blood hitting blue canvas from the bully's split eyebrow. 30 seconds earlier he had been screaming, "You're a dead woman," into the face of a quiet, 5'6" stranger in a red sports bra who hadn't said a single word. Now he was unconscious, mouth open, staring at the ceiling like a broken doll. And the woman, she simply lowered her fists, exhaled once, and walked away as if she'd just finished tying her shoe. This is the story the internet exploded over. The clip racked up 40 million views in 48 hours, but the 15-second knockout was only the final frame of a much longer movie, one that began years before anyone pressed record. Her name is Elena Marquez. Most people in that gym that night didn't know it yet. To them she was just the new girl who showed up 3 weeks earlier wearing an oversized hoodie, headphones, and the kind of exhausted eyes that made you look away out of respect. She trained alone, always in the corner, always after 9 p.m. when the testosterone parade thinned out. She wrapped her own hands, shadow-boxed like a ghost, and left without small talk. Nobody bothered her. Until the night Derek, D-Ray, Rawlins decided the quiet ones make the best targets. Derek was the gym's resident alpha, a former D1 linebacker turned wannabe influencer, banned from 2 other gyms for excessive intensity. He wore a Letterman jacket with no shirt underneath, filmed everything, and had a loyal pack of hype men who laughed on cue. His brand was intimidation. His currency was fear. And on this particular Friday, he needed fresh content. When he saw Elena hitting mitts with the old Thai coach in the corner, something sparked in him, maybe the way she moved, too clean, too controlled, like someone who already knew where your punch was going before you threw it. Derek didn't like mysteries, he liked breaking them. So he marched over, phone already recording in selfie mode, and started loud. "Yo, little mama, this ain't Zumba. You lost." His boys laughed. Elena didn't stop punching. The coach tried to wave Derek off, but Derek shoved the old man aside, easy, casual, the way you swat a fly. Then he got in her face. Real close. The kind of close that makes the air disappear. "I said you lost." He knocked the focus mitts out of the coach's hands, so they slapped the floor like gunshots. Elena finally looked up. Her eyes weren't scared, they were measuring, like a sniper deciding wind speed. That made Derek angrier. Nobody measures Derek Rawlins, they flinch. He leaned in until his forehead almost touched hers. "You don't belong here. Go back to Planet Fitness where you can do your little TikTok dances." More laughter from the peanut gallery. Phones came out. This was going viral, they could smell it. Derek smelled it too. He wanted the knockout clips, him putting a cocky girl in her place. He just didn't know whose knockout it was going to be. Elena spoke for the first time all night. Her voice was soft, almost a whisper, with the faintest trace of an accent most people couldn't place. "Step back." 2 words. "Final?" Derek's grin widened. Jackpot. He mocked her whisper in a high-pitched voice for the camera, then put a thick finger on her collarbone and pushed. Not hard enough to knock her down, just hard enough to claim territory. The gym went quieter than a funeral. Everyone knew that push crossed the line from content to assault. But nobody moved. Nobody ever moved when Derek was performing. Elena looked down at the finger on her collarbone the way you look at a mosquito that's about to die. Then she looked up, and something shifted behind her eyes. The something ancient and exhausted and done. Derek saw it too late. He opened his mouth to drop the line that would live forever in infamy. "You're a dead woman." The phone cameras caught everything after that in crystal clear 4K. But even slowed down frame by frame, most people still can't explain exactly what happened. Elena's left hand came up, not a punch, more like she was catching something invisible in the air. Her fingers closed around Derek's wrist so fast it looked edited. Then her hips dropped a fraction, her right foot slid behind his lead leg, and the world tilted. Derek's 2:30 frame left the ground like he'd stepped on a landmine. The overhand right that followed wasn't wild or emotional, it was surgical. Knuckles met the button on Derek's chin with the sound of a judge's gavel. Lights out. The Letterman jacket was still in mid-air when Derek's head bounced off the mat. 30 seconds. From threat to blackout. But that's only the moment everyone saw. The real story started 8 years earlier, 3,000 miles away, in a dusty border town most Americans can't pronounce. Elena Marquez grew up in Ciudad Juárez when the cartels were writing their names in fire across the sky. Her father was a federal police commander, one of the few who wouldn't take the plata o plomo choice. They chose plomo for him. Elena was 14 when she watched men in ski masks drag her father out of their house and put 2 bullets in his chest on the front lawn. Her mother lasted another 6 months before the cancer took her. That's cancer that might have been treatable if the family hadn't spent every peso on protection that never came. By 15, Elena was alone. She survived the only way a girl alone in that city could. She learned to fight. Not for sport, for keeps. A retired Cuban boxing coach named Mateo, who ran a gym out of a converted bus depot, took her in after she knocked out a 17-year-old gang recruit who tried to drag her into an alley. Mateo saw something in the way she hit, not anger but absence. Like she had already buried every feeling and only muscle memory remained. He taught her the sweet science the old way, no gloves half the time, no mouth guard ever. Pain is information, he told her. Listen to it. By 17, she was fighting bare knuckle in warehouses for cash, men twice her size who laughed when the skinny girl stepped into the ring. They stopped laughing quickly. She learned to end things fast because the longer a fight lasted, the more likely someone pulled a knife. She learned that mercy was a luxury that got people killed. The cartels noticed. They always notice someone who can't be broken. They made her an offer: fight for them, or disappear like her father. Elena disappeared anyways on a moonless night with nothing but a backpack and the scars on her knuckles. She crossed the Rio Grande with a coyote who tried to rape her halfway. They found him face down in the mud the next morning. Elena made it to El Paso with $37 and a promise to herself, never again powerless. Cesar, the army recruiter, saw her take down 3 drunk infantrymen outside a bar in Fayetteville who thought, quiet Mexican girl, meant easy target. She was 21 by then, 5'6", 130, 5 pounds of lean muscle and old ghosts. The recruiter didn't ask questions about the bodies she'd left behind borders. He just saw the way she moved and said, "Ever think about Ranger School, kid?" She laughed for the first time in years. Women couldn't go to Ranger School then, but they could go to Fort Bragg, learn hand to hand from men who wrote the manuals, and disappear into the night with the 82nd. She did 2 combat tours, places the government still won't admit we were. She earned a tab that isn't on any official record, and a skill set that makes MMA look like kindergarten. Then one day in Kandahar, a mortar round took half her platoon, and Elena woke up stateside with shrapnel in her spine and a Purple Heart she never hung on any wall. The army gave her an honorable discharge and a pamphlet about PTSD. She gave them silence. She drifted bartending in San Diego, bouncing in Vegas, always moving. The nightmares followed. The only time they quieted was when she hit things, hard things for hours. So she found gyms, always late, always alone, always in whatever city she landed in next. Until she landed in Austin and walked into Derek Rawlins's Coliseum of Fragile Egos. That night, after Derek hit the mat like a dropped piano, the gym didn't cheer. They were too shocked for that. The old Thai coach just stared at Elena with something like recognition, like he'd seen ghosts wear that exact expression before. Elena picked up her hoodie, slipped it on, and started for the door. One of Derek's boys found his voice. "Yo. What the hell was that?" She paused under the flickering fluorescent, looked back once, and said the only other sentence anyone would ever hear her speak in that building. "Chada." I asked him to step back. Chada, then she was gone. Chada, the video blew up, of course. Hashtags, reaction channels, think pieces. Derek woke up in the ER with a concussion, 7 stitches, and the sudden realization that his brand was now the guy who got slept by a girl half his size. He posted a tearful apology from his hospital bed, called it a lesson in humility, blamed steroids, promised to change. The internet wasn't buying. Elena never posted anything, never claimed the fame. Reporters tried to find her. The gym wouldn't give up her name. The army stonewalled. She vanished as cleanly as she'd appeared. But stories like this don't stay buried forever. 6 months later, a new youth gym opened in East Austin in the shell of an old grocery store that used to sell more liquor than food. No sign out front, just a spray-painted fist on the roll-up door. Inside, heavy bags made from duct-taped tires, mats salvaged from bankrupt CrossFit boxes, and a dozen kids from the projects learning footwork from a woman in a black hoodie who never gives her name. She doesn't charge money. She just asks that they show up on time and never, ever start the fight, but always finish it if someone else does. Sometimes late at night, when the last kid has gone home, she stays behind and hits the bag until her knuckles bleed. The old Cuban coach Mateo sent her a text once as just a photo of the new gym with the caption, "You listen to the pain." She never replied. She didn't need to. Derek Rollins. Last anyone heard, he moved to Florida, deleted his socials, and took a job selling cars. Rumor is he flinches every time a woman in a red sports bra walks onto the lot. And somewhere out there, Elena Marquez, daughter of a murdered Fidel, survivor of Juárez, ghost of 2 wars, the quiet woman nobody saw coming, keeps training the next generation to never need the lesson she learned the hardest way possible. Power doesn't roar. Sometimes it just exhales, lowers its fists, and walks away. So I want to know, sir, have you ever been counted out, written off, told you don't belong? What happened when you finally decided enough was enough? Drop your story in the comments. I read every single one. And if this one hit you in the chest the way it hit me putting it together, do me a favor, smash that like button, share it with someone who needs to see it. And subscribe, because next week we're telling the story of the Marine who came home from Fallujah in a wheelchair and then stood up in the middle of a bank robbery. You're not going to want to miss that one. Until then, stay dangerous, stay kind, and never ever forget, sometimes the quietest person in the room is the one who already survived the loudest hell. We'll see you in the next one.